Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright people, review of the week time, and let's just jump straight in. We'll talk about the whole card itself, and I think I might even start with the whole card for Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. That's the main talking point now at the minute. That's pretty much what's on, kind of everyone's lips now at the minute. So let's just talk, but before we get into what I think both guys are going to do next, let's just have a little short breakdown of the card. Alright, I'm going to touch on the fights I've seen. And obviously, we'll start with Frasier Clark. He made his professional debut last night. Big Frasier Clark. He fought a guy called Jake Darnell. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of a mini rant here as to how this fight was ever allowed to happen in the first place. I don't know who the original opponent was for Frasier Clark, but apparently Jake Darnell was a last-minute replacement. This is a guy who was making his professional debut, a white-collar boxer, right, who looked in no physical state to be anywhere near the ring that night. He was battered from pillar to post, had his nose all smashed up. And the really worrying thing about this is that he was actually at the press conference for this fight. He went as a fan. He went as a guest to enjoy the event. And suddenly he's ending up fighting Frasier Clark, on the night. How in God's name can the British Boxing Board of Control sanction that? How can you look at someone who's so underprepared and say, alright, well, he came as someone who was looking to watch the fight live, he was looking at the press conference, and now he's going to box in the fight. How can you look at that and justify and say that was a fair move? Yes, you could say, well, gee, he wasn't seriously hurt. It's not the point. He could have been. I think that's very, very poor form from the British Boxing Board of Control. I seen Vidal Riley. I seen his fight against this guy Shelpo. Durable. He is durable, although he had been stopped by his previous two opponents. He was actually stopped by Tabisa Machunu in 2 rounds back there in 2019. We also know who Machunu is. We was stopped by Callum Johnson as well in 9 rounds back in 2016. That's a while ago now. But Vidal Riley, he looked alright. I mean, apparently he's a YouTube star, so he's mates with KSI apparently as well. But look, he looked alright for what he was. I think there's a bit of pop there, but he still needs a little bit of improvement in my opinion. Bradley Ray, now he's someone who I have seen before. I've seen a couple of his fights. I seen the fight he had against Jez Smith, which was a real humdinger of a fight. It was a real competitive fight. He was in there against a guy called Craig McCarthy. Craig McCarthy's from down the country in Waterford. I've seen him fight a few times. Absolutely garbage. Was a bit surprised that he was stopped so early, but for him to get stopped, I wasn't exactly shocked about that. As I said, I wasn't expecting much from him. Absolute garbage. So Bradley Ray showed some very good punching power. Although he only has, at the time he only had 4 KOs on his resume, he definitely has power there, natural heavy hand. And I was very impressed with him. He's only 23 years old. So onwards and upwards with him. Charlie Schofield lost his English title to Jermaine Brown. He uses the nickname G-Man. Great choice. That's all I will say, great choice on that. And he's looking very good. Looking a very, very slick, good little boxer. Was very impressed with him. Bit like Lerone Richards. A very good boxer, does the fundamentals right, has a good shot selection, lacking punching power. And I think that his power can be improved, but I don't think Jermaine Brown's ever going to be a one-punch KO artist. I think if he sits down as more shots, he will start hurting these guys a bit more. But in terms of him being turned into a Tommy Hearns figure, ain't gonna happen. Natasha Jonas won a world title last night. She won the WBO World Super Light or Super Welterweight title. Her opponent, Chris Namoon, was absolutely abysmal. I mean, that girl could not fight her way out of a wet paper bag. Honestly, it was a joke. The fact that was for a world title was an absolute joke. Natasha Jonas didn't look 154 pounds, didn't look anything close to it. They had Hannah Rankin doing the punditry. Hannah Rankin would make absolute light work of Natasha Jonas. The size difference would be ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that was the last fight that I kind of really talked about. With the main event, I've done a post-fight review for that. Amir Khan kind of hinted in the change rooms after the fight that this is the end. That he really doesn't have it anymore. And it didn't look like he had it anymore in the tank. to be honest with you. His feet look slow. His hand speed is still... He's faster, as I said, than your average welterweight, but his hand speed is diminished compared to what it used to be. The punch resistance is always going to be an issue. The defense and the reflexes seem a little bit worse for wear. And he took a bit of a beating. He took a beating against Kell Brook in there. To his credit, he didn't touch down, but he was getting hurt a lot by Kell Brook. I mean, like, he was getting hurt an awful lot, and the legs were getting jittery all over the place from shots Kell Brook was landing. So, for me, I think it's best Amir Khan does walk away. There is a rematch clause in place if Amir Khan wants it. Now, some people were saying, you know, put yourself through another 8 weeks of training, take your licks against Kell Brook again, and get another couple of million. I don't know, like, at the end of the day, Amir Khan's been someone who's been knocked out plenty of times. He's taken sustained beatings like the Danny Garcia fight and this fight. And I think for his health, if Amir Khan took a rematch with Kell Brook and he was talking, if he's talking like that in a few years, I'm sure if you said to him, do you know what, you got 3 million for this fight, was it worth it? And he'd probably tell you no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. The extra couple of million, it's not worth your health. And I would worry about Amir Khan's health even after this fight, much less if he had another fight with Kell Brook. I'd be very worried about his long-term health. So I know there's money on the table, but Amir Khan's made good money as it is. He doesn't need any more. And I think for his own sake, he's got a young family. For the love of God, don't take a rematch with Kell Brook. For your own sake. What good is a couple of million if you're struggling to string a sentence together? Seriously, I mean, what good is that? In terms of Kell Brook, he called out Chris Eubank Jr., said he'd be willing to fight Eubank Jr. at a catch weight of 155 pounds, to which Eubank Jr. said, well, you'd no problem fighting Triple G at 160, which is a fair statement. I can't really take anything away. That's a fair statement. In terms of Conor Benn, he said he would fight him at 150 pounds, to which Conor Benn said, it doesn't bother me. I want to get the fight straight in. Again, I take... this is more Eddie Hearn. The issue I take with Eddie Hearn wanting Conor Benn to fight the winner of Amir Khan Kell Brook was the fact that he was shutting both guys down before. He said in, I think it was an IFL interview, that both these guys are past, that both these guys are washed up, and that it's not going to be a good fight, but that the winner should fight Conor Benn. Absolutely, like, so what? They're not good, and they're not good fighters. They're way past it, but you still want them to fight Conor Benn, and you'd sell that as, look at this world level opponent. Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn, he is trying to cash Conor Benn in, or cash Conor Benn. He's trying to make as much money as he can for Conor Benn with limited risk. And look, that's what Eddie Hearn is trying to do, is what it is. But we'll move on from that. Tyson Fury has been having a say about Dillian Whyte yet again, as basically saying, why haven't you signed the contract? You know, kind of the usual thing you'd expect. Obviously, with Dillian Whyte, we've heard radio silence still from Dillian Whyte. There hasn't been much said about him, and I do wonder what's going on there. I've seen The Sun, who, at the time this has gone out, I probably would have already uploaded that video, but they did release an article stating that Eddie Hearn was potentially, this is what they're saying, potentially looking to offer Dillian Whyte significant paydays as alternates for taking the Tyson Fury fight. So that fight could be up in the air. God knows what's going to happen there. It's a strange one. It's a really, really strange one. Part of me does genuinely hope that fight does happen. I think it is a good fight, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking weird stuff's going on here. I'm thinking weird stuff's going on behind the scenes, and a part of me is wondering, is this fight maybe on uneven ground? Is it a bit shaky? I don't know. I really don't know. As for like Joshua Usyk, I mean, that seems a done deal. It's just a case of waiting for a formal announcement on that, a formal date, location as well. Eddie Hearn's been around the world, potentially saying it could be in Dubai, it could be in the UK. Whoever puts up the most money for that, I would imagine. Because I would imagine that Eddie Hearn maybe having a few worries about AJ's mental state, maybe worried about AJ going in there against a rematch with Usyk, and he might decide home field advantage in the UK could be good, but if AJ gets battered and he gets really beaten, well then, maybe I want to do it somewhere like the UAE or Saudi or somewhere like that where they're going to overpay me, so at least it's going to be profitable. Could something like that could happen? I don't know. In terms of some of the other results that happened over the weekend, Jaime Munguia got a third round win over Demetrius Ballard. That was over in Mexico. I think that was on one of the zone cards as well. I seen the highlights of that. The one I was really looking forward to seeing was William Zepeda. Now, William Zepeda is a Mexican fighter. He's 25 years old, and I think he looks every bit the business. I have to say, as I still haven't, the cough's nearly gone. I haven't seen his most recent fight, but I will definitely, once I finish up here, go and have a look at it, because he is something else. He really is. He's looking very impressive. I think that he could be something special in the future. I really, really do. I think he could be something very, very special in the future. Talking of other fighters who should be retiring, Jorge Linares fought Abdullayev. Both of them have a common opponent in Devin Haney. They both got beat by Devin Haney. Something that really irritated me about this fight, not from the actual fight itself. The WBC said the winner of this fight will be ordered to fight Devin Haney. He's beaten both of them. He's beaten both of them fairly convincingly. In the Linares fight, there was close rounds and Devin Haney was rocked a bit, but fairly convincingly he beat both fighters. Why are you ordering the winner of this to fight Devin Haney again? Like, seriously. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. So, Jorge Linares got stopped in the 12th round. Now, I picked Jorge Linares to win this fight. I did. I thought he would stop his opponent, because I thought that Linares hits hard enough to get Abdullahev's respect. Certainly if Devin Haney can rock Abdullayev, then Jorge Linares could as well. Jorge Linares ultimately got stopped in the 12th round. Again, showed that when he gets hurt, his survival instincts really aren't there. They really aren't there. His survival instincts, whenever he gets rocked, he just doesn't seem to know what to do. I also want to talk about one other fight that happened on the weekend, which is Arslanbek Makhmedov. I hope I'm saying the last name right. I always get the last name a little bit wrong. But he fought Marius Vac, was able to stop Marius Vac, was actually able to drop Marius Vac. Now, I believe that was the first time in Marius Vac's career that he was ever stopped. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty sure that Marius Vac, and he's been in there with some hellacious punchers, I'm pretty sure that's the first time he's ever been dropped in his career. He's been stopped, but dropped, I think that's the first time it's ever happened. Looking at that undercard as well, Simon Keane, I think he's the Canadian heavyweight. I've seen him in a few fights. He got knocked out by Dylan Carmen back a few years ago. He actually got a win over Shondell Winters, who we know he got beat by Cassius Chaney. So I didn't actually know about that, but he was stopped by 2 rounds by Babbage. So yeah, there was that card on there last night. That was in Quebec in Canada. But the Marius Vac thing, I mean, I'm very impressed that stopping Marius Vac, he's been stopped before, but never like that. Never been down in his career as far as I know. So shows the punching power that Arslanbek Makhmedov has. I was saying that Vac has seen much, much, much better days. So with age and with the abuse he's taken in his career, you would imagine the punch resistance is probably going to wane. You wonder if that was the Marius Vac who fought Klitschko, would he have touchdown? I don't know. He took them right hands from Klitschko like a boss. He really, that was incredible. If you've never seen Marius Vac versus Vladimir Klitschko, go and watch it. It's a 12-rounder. No one gets dropped, and it's actually scary. It really is how often, like, he was landing right hands clean on Marius Vac, the same right hands that nearly knocked AJ out cold. Vac was just taking them like, and what? I remember David Hay, when he was sparring him in the run up to the Tyson Fury fight, which obviously never happened, he was saying that you literally needed a 2x4 to even get a reaction out of Marius Vac. It's crazy. He said it's like hitting a brick wall. And again, you'd imagine after a time that punch resistance would go a bit. And we rounded off, because I think I covered most of the other news. There wasn't much news. It was mainly Amir, Kell, Brook over the last few days. But Canelo Alvarez has insisted there's no deal fully agreed or confirmed for his next fight yet. Says from Alvarez that he's still negotiating. Now, the fights on offer are PBC deal, which is, can't think of it now, Charlo and Benavidez. Now, I like the Benavidez fight, the Charlo fight, meh. It's kind of one of them, meh, it's alright. But the Charlo fight, I favour Canelo heavily. And you've the Dazn deal, which is Bivol. Stylistically, that could be a great fight. It could be very interesting for Canelo. And then the Triple G fight, meh. I've seen it twice. I'll take it for what it is. It's not the Triple G of 4 or 5 years ago. So Canelo should have a reasonably easy enough time against him. So you're talking one fight on each that we don't want, and one fight on each that we do want. I think that in the grand scheme of things, the deal with Dazn is better, because if you do beat Dimitri Bivol and you have the Triple G fight, come what next year, Joe Smith and Beterbiev will have had their unification. So literally, I mean, like, there's undisputed at 175. There you go. And if it happens to be Artur Beterbiev, the Joe Smith Jr. fight, I think that'll be a tough fight. I expect him to win, but it'll be tough. He's not getting any younger. He's big at the weight. And another year on top of that, yeah, we could see Canelo. Timing could, the saying goes, timing is everything. I think Canelo's timing for that fight next year might be very good, might be perfect. So we'll watch the space with there. Lads and lads, I think that is pretty much it. I hope, because I think I forgot to put the phone on flight mode, so there might be a bit of static. If there is, apologies. If there's not, forget I said anything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope I've got you set up for the day. And yeah, this week is going to be, this week's going to be a good week. I hope it's a good week for everyone involved, everyone listening. I hope they're all doing the best. I hope everyone's having a good time with things. But yeah, if you could, smash the like button. It does help. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, you know. If you're just listening to these videos and you're not subscribing, you could do it in like literally 2 seconds. It is free. So there's always that. But for now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that. I hope you have a good Monday. We do a bit of work this week. I'll probably get a stream in. Midweek stream. I haven't done them in a while. We'll definitely do one this week before I head off to London next week. And obviously when I'm in London, I'll bring in the recording equipment. I'm still going to record over there. I'm over there for the best part of 4 days. So I will be there'll be news breaking, so I'll definitely be talking. So for now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that.